I'm probably not going to be offering any startling revelations by talking about today's topic, but here goes. What makes a good, workable, new take on the Doctor? Now, forget about what we think is generally in character for the Doctor to do and what we as fans think the Doctor should be, because we can all differ on that. How about a nice and unproblematic statement, like, each new Doctor should bring something new to the table? Largely this comes down to the actor's own strengths. Casting a healthier actor with Pat Troughton's skill meant that stuff like Enemy of the World was possible, where it probably wasn't with Bill Hartnell. John Pertwee's unflappability meant that stories where 3 has to befriend aliens and play ambassador shined because he reacted to them the same way he did humans. When crafting a character, I think it's a significantly different job in TV or film because a lot of the characterization will become more visibly clear once you have a casting. Fitz, as played by the late Robbie Coltrane in Cracker, is very different from what Jimmy McGovern originally had in mind. But when crafting a new incarnation of the Doctor, bringing something new to the table probably shouldn't be confused with make them the exact opposite of the person who came last. Now, I know this tends to happen regardless. You look at most Doctors next to each other in the order, but there is a pitfall in just defining a character in terms of what they aren't. The best way to explain this kind of thing is a tweet Kevin made a while back about some of the praise of the Chibnall years. It's good because the companions aren't mysteries. It's good because the dialogue isn't all quippy and clever. It isn't trying to be sexy. Okay, sure, but can you tell me what it actually is? And they often do, but you see the point. Elizabeth Sandifer, and yes, this is your reminder to back her on Patreon if you can afford it, talked about the problem the EDAs had early on with characterizing 8. This is because they were defining him in opposition to his predecessor, the Machiavellian 7th Doctor. Now, when you update a character, there are going to be old models of stories that don't work with a new approach. Pure Lucarotti-esque historicals only really worked with the first Doctor's early characterization, but this is more of an unintended consequence of making the Doctor more heroic. You could just write a story where 7 is impulsive and improvises. Hell, there are TV stories later in his run where he does just that. So on paper, what did we gain with 8, apart from the fact that McGann is gorgeous? Much as I love 8, he's easy to make generic in a way 7 doesn't really suffer from, whether it's the books or Big Finish. Part of that's the fact that McCoy got 3 seasons of actual television, but I think this starts from basic character conception as well. I think the biggest offender of this problem is sadly 13 and Series 11. Yes, removing the angst of the previous revival Doctors is probably something that needed to happen at some point. Doing it after Twice Upon a Time felt appropriate. But what is this being replaced with? We don't really get an answer until Demons of the Punjab, or the Jodie Hauser Titan comics. So the bold solution is to try and carve out something new in the space that has been left for you. What can we do with the fact that 8 isn't a chess master anymore? Because I do believe they were right to go in a different direction to the VNAs, and creative constraints can bring out the best if you've got talented writers. And it turns out if you hand a creative constraint to Orman and Blum, you get vampire science. Now, the best way to explain the difference between 7 and 8 is that the former will withhold information and lie by omission in order to manipulate you, whereas 8 will actually throw out the information with a bunch of other things in order to make you not notice it. 7 is totally aware that he's being manipulative. 8 isn't, and you're not even sure how much he's controlling and how much he's making up on the spot. A magician who might not even know the secret to his own tricks. What I'll say for certain is that you have to show off what the new Doctor can do that the previous Doctor couldn't in their first few stories. Just look at what they had David Tennant do in Christmas Invasion and New Earth. I mean, you can't picture Christopher Eccleston doing this. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing is up to you, but it is something new. Tom Baker's grinning 4th Doctor becomes far more alien when you stick him in horror stories, so it's good that the arc in space happened as soon as it did. This is also why diverse casting is more needed than ever. Different races and genders and sexual orientations means more story opportunities. It means more types of Doctor that we've never seen before. So when writing your fan series, try to see what new stories could be told with your new Doctor. As an exercise, I'm penning my own hypothetical pitch in the form of a short original novel. My Doctor's whole thing is turning enemies into allies, always trying to rehabilitate them or just forge uneasy alliances. Often by negotiation, sometimes force. Obviously that means no more speeches about how good it is to be good. I'm replacing that with the fact that she's not necessarily out to defeat an enemy, but more by them. So let's talk about 14. The same writer and actor returning for this incarnation. Can you just smell the new ground being covered here? Okay. He's only going to be around for a few specials. Do we really care about generating a ton of new stories here? Okay, then why is he called 14? Apart from 80s fanbrain. Give him a title or something, or finally make him Ginger and make him the Merlin Doctor. If he's got the same mannerisms and he's being played in a pretty similar way by the same actor, what's the point? I think there is a way to justify this. This version of Tennant's Doctor should be informed by years' worth of hindsight. He should feel different. He should feel like the same person who lived through the Smith, Capaldi and Whittaker years. And, with all of this hindsight, sure, his return as 14 and reunion with Donna Noble could lead to an interesting story about addressing things that went on in RTD1. Though I've got to be honest, the main thing that indicates that this could be the case is just Talali's presence. So therefore we have a story that's only possible with a retro regeneration into Tennant, right? Maybe. Whilst I appreciate that Russell is picking up this gauntlet, I figured we got all of this from Hellbent. Though, underlining the point might be nice, especially considering a lot of us missed this memo. So I suppose this is a tenuous endorsement of Tennant as 14? Maybe, for whatever that's worth. It's a sequel incarnation, seemingly being designed to tell a sequel story. Whether I like the story in question, of course, remains to be seen. Though, to be honest, it'd probably be more honest to just have 14 and Donna meet up with Russell T Davies playing himself, and they go on a reunion pub crawl for an episode. An alien invasion is happening, but it's entirely the B-plot.